We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Welcome into Tailgate. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner in shitty Cincinnati. I'm not calling it sunny today. They don't deserve it. It's 35 degrees out, half snowing, half raining on April 18th.
Yeah, but 80 degrees this weekend.
That's what I don't understand. How can it be disgusting on a Monday and then 80 degrees on a Saturday?
I don't know. It's the Midwest, dude. It's what it's all about.
The walk to work today.
I've grown up in this my entire life, so it's not even like this doesn't even register.
The walk to work today pissed me off. Yeah. I'm upset. I'm upset at the weather. I'm upset at the city. But we need to bounce back. We will bounce back. Things on the Catch and Only Buzz. The USFL kicked off. Did you watch a second of the games?
Couldn't tell you.
Do you not know that PFF is grading every single player on every single play and every single game in the USFL?
Nice. Good luck to those who grade. Go team.
Do you have a favorite team?
I couldn't even tell you the teams, dude.
So the only team that matters is the Philadelphia Stars because they have a mascot that's just like a blob, and they call him the Blob. No, he's not a star. He's
white, or what is he?
He's like a red blob, and they just calling him the Blob.
Red Giant?
Yeah,
nice. Which
is great. I think the other stars, there's like Dave the Wave, Marty the Mauler, and they're all just like guys dressed up whatever. It's lame. But the blob for the Philadelphia Stars actually has legs. I think it's a good piece.
Maybe I need to look into this. Maybe I need to actually watch some of this.
Just take a look.
Was it good? Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
No, it was terrible.
Okay.
Oh, it was
awful. Well, maybe I don't need to look into this.
Paxton Lynch was horrendous. On the broadcast, shout out Jack Collinsworth, who's doing the play-by-play for the USFL. Jason Garrett said Paxton Lynch has a lot of the qualities Josh Allen has. It was sensational content. I mean, the content was good from a laughability standpoint. Did you see the clip?
I did see Jason Garrett. Though I did see a picture of Jack with Jason Garrett. Who were the other two? Jeff Fisher and the old Browns OC who
I don't know. Yeah. The Pittsburgh guy for a while.
Yeah.
Todd Haley.
Yeah, Todd Haley. There we go.
Did you
that
see
looked like a odd couple.
Did you see the viral clip
of? No, didn't see anything. So.
Did you see the viral clip of the coach cutting Devin Smith, who is the former Michigan back? He cut him because he ordered pizza over a chicken salad at dinner. And they have a video. They're already doing a documentary on the USFL, and then the USFL let that air, where Devin Smith comes into this room, shakes everyone's hand. He's like, they talk about through this like decisions, like order food, or like they were like ordering at a restaurant or something. And Devin Smith is having this explain how he wasn't trying to be disrespectful when he said he wanted the pizza. And the coach said, it doesn't matter. It's already done. And they shake his hand and he's out. So he got cut for ordering pizza over chicken salad. He's like, I don't really like chicken salad. And he's gone. You have to watch the video. It's one of the most absurd videos I've ever seen. Oh, man.
I love how, we sit here on the outside, and talk about roster moves and why guys get signed, why guys get cut, all this shit. And sometimes sometimes it's just coaches don't like a guy, or sometimes it's just shit like this. We have all these, we think there's this grand plan and there's these high level decisions being made in these front offices. Sometimes it's just seat of their pants shit. I think is what that tells me.
It's like a really well done clip too. Like they cut to a side comment of the coach saying hey, we have to have this conversation. It's so good. Go back and watch the him getting cut over the pizza thing. It is so. He's like, I don't like chicken salad. Last thing on the Catch and Only Buzz, draft guide is officially done. 250 profiles, all available on PFF.com. Go get it with a PFF subscription. You can use promo code DRAFT50 for 50% off. Or if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts between now and the draft, I will send you a free draft guide. All you have to do is leave a review, send me a screenshot of that review via Twitter DM or IG DM, and we will make sure we get you a free draft guide. That's a big shout out to all the Tailgate listeners, the Gators here, and so forth. We're going to get into our linebacker tiers. Before we do, shout out from the presenting sponsor of this podcast. The Tailgate podcast is brought to you by Cash App. Cash App is the easiest way to spend spend, and save. Send, spend, and save your money. You can send or request money from your friends when they owe you for dinner, drinks, literally anything. Besides just sending money back and forth with Cash App, you can invest in its stocks with as little as $1 as well as buy, sell, and send Bitcoin instantly. It's really that easy. Cash App allows you to also lets you design your own debit card completely free to spend money anywhere you'd like. Cash App will laser print it and mail it to you all for free. And the card comes with free discounts at your favorite places called Boosts. Sign up for Cash App today using referral code HutchPod, which gives new users $15, and Cash App will set aside $10 for each sign up you get to go towards the Chad Tough Foundation to battle pediatric brain cancer. The more people that use the code HutchPod when registering not only get $15 for free, but you're also helping support the Chad Tough Foundation. Download the Cash App app on the App Store or Google Play Store today. Cash App, promo code HutchPod. Linebackers. There's only 2 Tier 1 linebackers for you. I think that's for a bulk majority of the media. It's Devin Lloyd of Utah and Nakobe Dean of Georgia. For you, though, even though those are your Tier 1 linebackers, where are you feeling most comfortable of drafting either of those guys? Does it start for you in the 15 to 25 range? Is it later than that, the 20 to 32 range? Just knowing, obviously, how positional value affects that position overall.
I think not only just positional value, but in this class, the depth. Like the Tier 1, I feel very good about. The Tier 2, I feel very good about too, though. And it's deep. I got 4 guys in the Tier 2 with a 5th wild card that we'll get to when we get to that. But like, if you pass on a Devin Lloyd at pick, I don't know, you're the Eagles. They've obviously need linebacker. They pass on him in the first round because they quite obviously don't value the position. That will not be doing that, anytime soon. The guy you're getting in the second round, or more than likely going to be on the board in the second round, isn't that big a difference, in my opinion. So I would probably be passing on a lot of these linebackers until it gets to around the late. If Devin Lloyd's on the board in the mid-20s, sure. I'm taking a shot then. But in the middle, heart of this first round, like in the teens, I would look elsewhere, truthfully. Even though I love these guys, even though I think Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean are great prospects, just you still have to play the board, and you still have to basically realize that there's a lot of other talent, and basically not be as confident in your evaluation to say to steal your line that you always love to use. To say that there maybe is not this massive chasm between the top of this class and the second tier, and for a position like that, prioritize a more valuable one in the first round.
That's how I feel about this group as well. Like for Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean, as much as I like taking them in the first round in that 20 to 32 range, you think about taking Devin Lloyd, say at pick 20, or Leo Chanel in the second round. I think I'm leaning Chanel every single time. Same with even you look at some of the guys that could be available in round 3. Channing Tindall, Brandon Smith, Darian Beavers. Like those are really talented off-ball linebacker prospects that when you juxtapose the value of spending a first-round pick or a top 20 pick on Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean versus getting one of those guys on day 2, I'm leaning that other direction. I don't think every linebacker class is like that. In previous years, it's been if you don't get one of the top few guys, you're not really even going to get a starter in this class. But Chanel, Quay Walker, Asamoah, Muma, I really like Harris, Tindall. All those guys are legitimate starting capable off-ball linebackers that should be available round 3, round 4. So I think that depth is going to have me gravitating towards avoiding Lloyd and Dean in the first round, maybe until 25 through 32 if I'm picking in the first round, and then looking at if I want to fill need at linebacker, going to these guys like we said in Tier 2, Tier 3 on day 2, day 3.
Yeah. Let's get Tier 1. All right, so Devin Lloyd, Utah. He is a senior coming out, 90.2 overall grade last year. Graded out well in run defense, coverage, pass rushing. He is as complete a linebacker prospect as exists in this class. Not a lot of weaknesses to his game. The biggest red flag to his profile, if there is one, he's 23 years old. He turns 24 in September. So an old prospect coming out. And, is there room for growth? Is he going to get better? TBD, he's already, in my opinion, the most NFL ready in this class. That's why he's LB1. Projectable body. If you look at his size, speed, weight, frame, length, whatever, all that, damn near identical to Fred Warner. So, you're getting Fred Warner comps for this guy. It's obviously a high bar, a high praise, a top 3 to 5 linebacker in the NFL. Is he going to become that? I would bet no. You just bet to say a guy's going to become that, he has to be a pretty damn good prospect. And with Lloyd, that's, again, I'm not putting him in that tier just yet, but I think he's at least from day one an average to above average linebacker in the NFL, which still has value, and especially in today's NFL with what all linebackers are asked to do and the varied role they're asked to do, I feel better about Lloyd filling that than any other linebacker in this class. A basically hybrid, any position you want to put him in, I think he's going to succeed.
I am a big fan of Lloyd. I like Lloyd over Dean, especially when you factor in the size comparison. I think the size is a big winner. And he is the older prospect, though. I think the reason he'll get knocked a bit is we'll play his rookie season at 24 years old. Had a really good season this past year. I think he's hyper instinctive in the run game. I think he's also going to perform like seamlessly in coverage. Like of any linebacker in this class, who do you trust most to turn their back? Yeah. It's got to be Devin Lloyd. And obviously, teams that are looking to play off-ball linebackers on all three downs, he's that type. As the 4-2-5 has become more popular and you only got two on the field, Lloyd, you're really confident being on the football field for all three downs and specifically playing well in coverage. Like, he naturally gets to his spot in a really good place when you look at some of the coverage stuff that he did at Utah. As for Dean, I think, yeah, they're comparable in terms of talent level, and they're both in Tier 1, but I think he's going to be asked to do, like, a completely different thing than what Lloyd's being asked to do, right? Like, I think Dean is going to, you want to, fire forward first, like a Rashaan Evans type of role, a Dante Hightower type of role, where you're asking him to blitz a lot from that position, less so like asking him to turn his back. I don't know. Do you have the same read on Dean? Is he going to play some type of role, or do you trust him to kind of play in coverage a lot and stuff?
I still trust him in coverage. I think he can do a lot of different things. I think he plays the game faster than anyone else in this class. There may be better athletes, but no one plays the game faster than Nakobe Dean. The worry about him, the worries are he's 5'11", 229. He's undersized, but I will say his wingspan's bigger than Leo Chanel's. His wingspan's bigger than Chad Muma's. Like, he is not he's in the realm of NFL starters at that position in terms of his wingspan. It is not a liability in any way, shape, or form, for my money, if you're drafting a guy in the first round. But teams will shy away from the smaller guys just on the whole, usually at the position. And the other thing is he played behind a Georgia defensive line that just won. When you know guys in front of you are winning, you can play a lot more confidently. Yeah. When you're worried about your nose tackle getting rocked into your lap at the second level, you don't play with the same confidence and speed. So that will be a change for him. We're playing behind the best defensive front, and arguably in college football history, one of the best defensive fronts in college football history. It's going to be difficult too. Not good, difficult, but it's a lot easier than what your job's going to be at the NFL level. So that's the other knock I would say on him. But man, there really aren't a lot after that, just in terms of the way he plays the game of football.
I think he's one of the most instinctive players in this class. Yeah. And the first thing that comes up with Nakobe Dean is obviously like athlete. He doesn't, he's super explosive, all that stuff. I think what's more important to me, I think what his best trait is his instincts and how quickly he plays. Like, there was time where he's asking other linebackers to move into certain spots, and then he's firing first the ball. Like, there's a play where he asked Lewis Seen, he's like, Lewis, you got to come back up and fill this gap. And Lewis just comes in there and blows it up. Like, that stuff obviously doesn't show up in Dean's grade, but Dean did a lot of that for that defense, where getting people in position and letting people fire at the ball. Yeah. And you saw that there's obviously that like viral clip where he goes up to Tindall after like a certain play where he's out of position. He's like, you got to be there for this. And the next play, Tindall makes a fucking huge play. I think Dean's underrated as a leader and underrated as like a field general on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so one of probably the biggest positives in Dean's favor is just that he played the role he did in Georgia's defense. They had Quay Walker there this past year, who could be a possible first-round pick. They had Channing Tindall. Last year they had Monty Rice, who was a senior, and Nakobe Dean took his job. A third-round pick, Nakobe Dean took his job as a true sophomore. So the Georgia coaching staff, who's around this guy, and obviously pretty damn good coach staff in their own right, saw Dean as a talent and said, we want him on the field more than a third-round pick. That to me is like a pretty strong indictment of the type of linebacker you're getting.
Yeah, that's actually a great call out. Tier 2, you have Leo Chanel, Wisconsin, Quay Walker of Georgia, Brian Asamoah, Oklahoma, Chad Muma, Wyoming, and then Damone Clark of LSU in this Tier 2.
I have Clark in asterisks because he has neck fusion surgery. Will not get drafted near this Tier 2, but would have been touching this Tier 2 had he not had that issue, because he was going to miss his entire rookie season. Probably won't go until late day 3.
Of all the linebackers in this tier, I think the guy that I've got on board with the most is Chanel. Going back and rewatching Chanel, specifically just how what they asked him to do, getting up on the line of scrimmage, like beating the center's face, it's rare. And then you factor in that he's like just an insane athlete. Like he is a different level athlete, physical, super strong upper half. I don't know why he's not being talked about more as, a top 40 consensus player. Because I think we are higher, your board is higher on Chanel than the media consensus by a significant degree.
Yeah.
People are sleeping on his change of direction. People are sleeping on his play strength and his versatility. I don't know why, but I do think he should be more consideration as this like consensus top 40 type of guy.
And it comes back to, I think, a little bit the wingspan, and then a little bit just he does not play a coverage role. Mm-hmm. He was basically a glorified off-ball blitzer in Wisconsin scheme. And when he did play in coverage, it was like a whole player in man coverage where he doesn't necessarily have an assignment. He's just kind of picking up for other guys. So that's the biggest worry with him. But to me, there's a role that exists for him in the NFL that he is just going to dominate at. And that's why I'm high on him, because a team that blitzes their linebackers a lot, a team that plays a lot of man coverage, is going to draft a guy like Chanel, and he's going to crush it in said role. You mentioned the line of scrimmage stuff. I always put stock in when a coaching staff changes their scheme or carves out a role for a player because he's such a unique talent. In Wisconsin's scheme, in short yard situations and in other times like when they played Navy and like other like run obvious situations, they would put him as a tilt nose tackle. He would be walked up on the line of scrimmage over the center instead of an actual nose tackle. And he would just get to attack the center, and he would like
turn on the Iowa
every
game.
Single time. Iowa, Navy, a number of different times over the last year.
The Navy
when he was
game
in
is...
that, he wouldn't. He just won every single time. He was a walked-up nose tackle, which was insane. But that's the kind of athlete. Again, here's his testing numbers. At 250 pounds, 6'2", 250, 4'5", 340, with a 1.5-10 split, 40.5-inch vertical, 10'8" broad jump, 6'9", 8 3-cone, 4.24 short shuttle, and 34 bench press reps, which is, I believe, the most for an off-ball linebacker in over a decade. So he's a different dude athletically, and still only 21 years old, true junior coming out.
I do think that you turn on the Navy game and the amount of plays where he's lined up, shaded on the center, and as soon as the ball is snapped, he just dives over the top and tackles the quarterback. He should be arrested for that game. Because what they do is they tilt like the nose tackle on the opposite shade, and then he'd essentially just like guess the snap count, jump over the top and tackle him before they could even go through any of their fakes, right? Because obviously Navy running the triple option. They wouldn't even be able to get their first fake off to the fullback before he's like wrapped around the quarterback's neck. It was unlawful how they deployed him, and I think a team's going to jump at the idea of getting him in a similar role where you're versatile with him and move that stuff. I think going back to Lloyd too, some of his highest graded plays were when he lined it up purely on the edge and like was just turning offensive tackles and actually rushing the passer at a high level too. I think those first three guys, Lloyd, Dean, and Chanel, all can rush the passer well if you ask them to come up on the line of scrimmage. Your next guy is Quay Walker.
Quay Walker, the Georgia linebacker, he just ticks every box. I mean, truthfully. Nearly 6'4", 241, almost 33-inch arms, massive 80-inch wingspan, 4'5", 240, 10-2 broad jump, sub 7'3" cone. And for my money, this is the best tackler in the draft class. He, in space, between the tackles, whatever it is, plays with great balance, in space, can wrap up. He had so for his career, he missed only 7 tackles on 138 attempts. That is, in the SEC, that is an absolutely insane rate, 5.1 missed tackle rate. This guy, and like with traits that will then translate as a tackler, with that length, with that strength, with that athleticism, to the NFL. Now, is he the most instinctive? Does he go above and beyond? Is he playmaker? Is he playing the other side of the line of scrimmage? No, not really. That's kind of the knock on him. But I think there will be schemes that will be beating down this guy's door because of how good he is playing in space at his size. And that's like spot drop schemes, anything where it just lets him play an easy role where he can just use that athleticism. He's going to be a successful linebacker in the NFL. So Quay Walker, truthfully, would not surprise me if he goes before Nakobe Dean goes. As insane as that sounds, having watched like Georgia tape last year and seen that, but he just has the more projectable NFL body.
Young, long, like that 32 and 5/8 inch arms is massive, almost an 80-inch wingspan. Like that's what people chase at the off-ball linebacker position. I don't think he's that dissimilar from a body type standpoint to Jamin Davis, where he came in and ran fast, was super long.
I think he's a better prospect, in my opinion, than Jamin Davis was.
So I think there has been a lot of rumors talking to Doug Kide, the reporter here at PFF, where a lot of the people he's talking to say Quay Walker's probably going to go in the first round.
Yeah.
A lot of people are high on on Quay Walker right now. I like Chanel over Walker. I think there's conversation around Asamoah over Walker and even Muma over Walker. But from a frame standpoint, athleticism frame, all that, I think it's safe to say that he's firmly in the first round conversation coming out of Georgia. Next on your list, Brian Asamoah.
Yes, the Oklahoma linebacker, an undersized guy, 6'2", 226, but he has a 6'7" wingspan. So a bigger wingspan than pretty much all the other guys we talked. Only Quay Walker is bigger of the guys we've talked about so far. So short, but not undersized by any means. 4'5", 640, 10-4 broad jump, an explosive guy, craves contact, a massive hitter, one of the biggest hitters in draft class. I believe forced like 3 fumbles last season. Just plays with that sort of speed and violence to his game. I thought he really played more under control this past season. I believe he's started his career off as a safety or was recruited as a safety, moved to linebacker. In his very first year as a starter, which was 2020, you saw him not breaking down into tackles, getting over aggressive. This past year, cleaned a lot of that up, far fewer missed tackles, far better in terms of just playing within himself, and that natural athleticism, that natural ferocity he plays with really shines. So I'm a big fan of his. I think he should be, second round grade in the PFF draft guide. I think he's what you're looking for is kind of a modern weak side linebacker.
Yeah, is the worry with him the biggest worry probably the size?
Yeah, I think so. And also,
because I think his size does show up sometimes. Like when you look at his negatively graded plays, he is oftentimes getting lost in the wash. You know what I mean? That I think is what shows up as concerning, right? He's got length, he's got athleticism, all that stuff. But I think the lack of polish playing linebacker and being only 6 foot 226, you're going to get lost in the wash a lot, which that is. Oftentimes when you're flowing the ball, and even if like a guard gets a chip of you, you're getting pushed back enough to where you're not affecting the play. Like people talk a lot about contact balance at off-ball linebacker, or at running back. You need contact balance at linebacker too, because you need to be able to wade through a lot of that stuff to fly to the football. Even if you're the most explosive person on the field, if a left arm jab from a guard is pushing you off your line, you're gonna make fewer plays, and I think that's a big concern if you're going to ask him to play like truly in the middle. But like you said, Sam, I think whereas probably there more opportunity.
All right, next guy on the list is actually Troy Anderson.
My guy.
From Montana State. A true all-time athlete. If you follow, legit, if you follow, Math Bomb on Twitter, what's his actual name? Kentley Platt, who kind of it's called RAS, Relative Athletic Score, an all-around, basically takes every athletic testing number, how that stacks up historically against others, and puts it into one combined score. He was the highest testing of all time, which takes in size, arm length, weight, and then all the athletic testing, because he is 6'3", 243, and ran a 4.42, a 1.49-10 split, a 36-inch vertical, 10.8 broad jump, a 4.07 short shuttle, and a 6.773 cone. This guy is freak. Best all-time RS at the linebacker position. So
he had a 1.49 10-yard split, bro.
That's good for a cornerback, 1.49 10-yard split. And this guy is legitimately a highly athletic cornerback at 243 pounds, 6'3". So
I would highly, highly recommend you guys go back and listen to the Troy Anderson interview we did last week on this podcast, because he is also like just such a humble, stereotypical Montana guy.
And he's got a Montana haircut.
He definitely does have a Montana haircut. He graduated with a class of 80. I think we talked a little bit last week. But like he is someone that was recruited to Montana State to play off-ball linebacker. And then they said 3 days before camp, they said, hey, we need you to play running back, or running back got in trouble and is not going to be with the team anymore. Not even like you're better than him. It was like, no, like we kind of just need you to go play. So he plays running back when he starts. Yeah. Plays running back, has some success. Then his sophomore season, same situation. A couple weeks before the camp, they're like, quarterback's out for like dismissed for some other reason. And then he goes play quarterback, and he literally breaks the school records for rushing, passing, all this stuff. And then finally, 2020 doesn't happen. COVID, like doesn't get to play. 2021 hits, and they're like, you can finally play linebacker, and he's solid, like very good.
His first year of actually full-time linebacker.
The comparison you made to Chaz Surratt, I think, is good in terms of like how he got to play off-ball linebacker. Yeah. But it's more, I think it's different because Anderson's a better athlete.
Yes.
Like a legitimately way better athlete. I do think that I don't like him ahead of some of the guys that have already played high-end off-ball linebacker. Like I don't think anyone who has Anderson over Chanel, I don't think has watched the Chanel tape, or even Anderson over Asamoah. Like, but I do like Anderson a lot in this tier too. I think that's a smart slot for the Montana State kid.
I mean, he truly is freaky, and like it shows on tape. It's not just like, oh, freaky testing guy who has no clue how to play football. It's like he knows how to play every position in football. Like he has. So he just hasn't played enough linebacker is probably the biggest problem with him. So, I mean, if it like starts to turn on with him in terms of, picking up the scheme, playing fast, taking on blocks, like all that stuff starts to develop, you are getting high-end potential with what he brings to the table. So I'm a big fan of Anderson. I think that was the end. All 6 guys I just mentioned are all top 50 players on the PFF board. So a lot of talent.
That just screams, dude, if you want an off-ball linebacker in this class, like you have a need for a starter there. I love the idea of attacking it in round 2, round 3. Go attack it in round 2, round 3. I think into your offensive line and off-ball linebacker, you can get starters. And safety. You can get starters on day 2. And that is where, when you think about taking a Lloyd or a Dean in the first round or some of these other interior offensive line prospects, it's like sometimes it's let's go wait a second here and go grab Cole Strange from Chattanooga or some of these other guys that we know are super talented as well. The next guy on your list, Chad Muma, before you go.
Okay.
I think of any linebacker in this class, maybe outside of Dean, when I was talking about how he struggles through trash, that's Asamoah, I think wades through that the best. I think he has the best technical skill set to get through against the run when he's not, because Dean oftentimes just firing to a gap, right? And that's a lot of what the defense asks of him. Muma is reading and reacting in real time. That is unparalleled in this class. I think if he is a step behind because he's reading, reacting, he is able to make up with that on his angles to the football and all that stuff. And I think that's a big reason why Deontay Lee, big shout out to him, who's now a former PFF guy, now working at The Athletic, he quickly was like, Muma, I think, is the top linebacker in this class. He's a big Muma fan for just how he technically plays the position, read and reacts to the run game and all that stuff. And I don't think he's any slouch in coverage either. He's not the athlete that Anderson is or some of these other guys are, but he's still a good enough athlete and really, really sound at the position. Yeah,
very high football IQ, very good, very high-end athlete too, and a very good tackler in terms of wrap-up skills. 4.63 40-inch vertical, 10.9 broad jump. I mean, ticks those boxes at nearly 6'3", 239 pounds. So that he has all of that for a 3-down player. My biggest worry, physicality, even on Wyoming's tape against Wyoming's competition. Not a stack shed linebacker, not a take-on guy. You saw him, like you said, avoiding blocks a lot. Very good at that. That is something that is, I don't want to say less valuable, but you can't do all the time in the NFL. You're going against offensive linemen that can catch you, that can find you in space, as opposed to just being able to play around blocks 24/7. So I do worry about that. I think he may not be your Mike linebacker for Wyoming, may not be able to fill that role at the NFL, but again, another high floor. Why is all these guys are in this tier 2 of guys I really like, because they tick a lot of boxes.
Last but not least, you mentioned Damone Clark. Give us the skinny.
So again, he got flagged at the combine for a herniated disc in his neck, had neck fusion surgery, will miss his rookie year. But he's a guy who got benched in 2020 for LSU. Started linebacker at LSU, got benched, came back this past year, completely different player. Why I really like him in this tier, why I think he belongs in the conversation for this tier when healthy, which again, if you're missing a whole rookie season, that's going to drop you 2 or 3 rounds at the very least. So probably not going to come off the board until day 3, but insanely good tackler and plays very well out in space, kind of ticks every box you want to see athletically for a sideline to sideline, go get it guy. Ran the 4.5s at 240 pounds. I think that this guy, again, a lot of similar sort of positives to what we're talking about as Quay Walker, kind of like a poor man's Quay Walker in terms of tick size, ticks the wingspan, ticks the speed, ticks the athleticism, all of that. Maybe not your most instinctive, maybe not playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, maybe not all that, but just a very projectable athlete to the position that I'm going to buy into. So still, he may be your guy if you're really kind of forward-thinking, forward-looking, that you attack somewhere around 4 or 5.
On to tier 3, the high-end athletes tier. I would also say the high-end projects tier. Yeah. You have Christian Harris of Alabama, Channing Tindall of Georgia, and then can we start with the third guy you have here? It's Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith, and why I want it to be the high-end projects tier, is if you built a linebacker in a lab.
Yes.
6'3", 250. Clears the 240 mark, clears the 245 mark, and ran a 4.52. 34 and 5/8 inch arms. It's some of the longest arms in the class, regardless of position. He's playing at linebacker, where arm length is so coveted. 81 and a half inch wingspan, and he's only 21 years old. Like, he's going to play his entire rookie season, I think, at 21 years old. Yeah. He, in my opinion, is the day 3 bet on the upside guy, and just see if it will work. Because I do think that he has a lot of projectable traits. Not a lot of great film yet, but I think the projectable traits is something I flock to at that position these days.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even consider seeing if this dude can rush the passer.
Try something with him.
I mean, a 4.52 at 6'3", 250 with 34 and 5/8 inch arms and a sub 7.3 cone, like that guy, that's in the ballpark of like a Jason Oweh last year and how athletic he was. And his sophomore year at Penn State, he played slot corner basically. I mean, the overhang slot position that in the 240s. He's that kind of athletic that he can fill that role. That's probably the biggest guy I've seen fill that role at the collegiate level. That is insane that he was even able, that they even thought about doing that with him. But then this past year, gets between the tackles and, like, he's a mess. I mean, he is not a developed linebacker whatsoever, but I still, in coverage, is still pretty good. Like, pure man-match skills, he is much higher on this list. Like, he is jumping guys above him in these tiers for sure, in terms of just athletically what he can do, but awful tackler, out of control too often in space, trying to close plays, and just not develop whatsoever between the tackles versus the run. Take on skills, anything, processing speed, it's all bottom of the barrel. If he wasn't a freak athlete, this guy doesn't get drafted. If he's an average athlete, he's a UDFA. But he's not an average athlete. He's one of the best in the draft class, so I'm very intrigued about where he ends up going.
Pivot to Christian Harris, who the biggest concern or knock I have on him is as much of an athlete he is. One is size, 6'2", 226. But he did run a 4.44. Like, he's got a lot of really high-end athletic testing. I just didn't see him get better at Alabama. And you factor that in with the size concerns, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not as high on Harris as a lot of other people. I take Schnell over Harris. I mean, there's people who Harris is like the number 3, number 4 linebacker in this class. I just can't get on board.
And he gets lost in coverage. And the good thing about Alabama's defense, Nick Saban's defense, those are NFL concepts. If a guy is struggling with the NFL concepts in Alabama's defense, it's very easy to say that might be the case again in the NFL. But like you said, 4.44, 11-foot broad jump, explosive straight line player, and the reason why a lot of people are high on him and why you can still project him to the next level and why he is still going to be drafted highly. He takes on blocks really well. He comes downhill ferociously, can impact as a pass rusher, as a blitzer, can impact in run defense, has take-on skills that aren't going to be a liability whatsoever. He's going to be able to do it at the NFL level despite being, like you said, 226 pounds. So that's kind of the thing on him. He could be a better, he could be a guy that, similar to like a Leo Chanel, you're going to want to be taking out of coverage as much as possible to blitz or do other things. But high-end athlete like that still probably going to be drafted fairly highly.
Last but not least, Channing Tindall, guy that I think we've talked about a handful of players that have football IQ that you see on tape and instincts you see on tape. You don't see it as much with Tindall. Tindall, the way I put in my notes, he's a pointed gun. If you point him,
he's a wind-up toy.
Yeah, a wind-up toy a little bit. I think if you tell him, fire at this, and he's going to hit it because this guy is insanely explosive, and he's got good size too. Like, he's not explosive and small. Like, he's got good size for the position as well. 6'1", 230, ran a 4.47 with a 1.52 10-yard split, almost 33-inch arms. He has good size.
42-inch vertical.
Good size, phenomenal explosiveness, and if you put him in a role where there's not a lot of read and react, and he's not turning his back to line of scrimmage, I think he's going to have a shitload of success in the NFL. It's just, that's going to knock him off people's boards. There will be teams that don't even have a role for Tindall on their defense, right? Yeah. But there are other teams that are a bit more pointed with what they ask their linebackers to do, and they're going to bring this guy in and watch him cook.
And also a little more straight line sort of guy, straight line speed. If you're asking him to turn and run with tight ends, play pure man coverage, I'm not sure he's going to be a guy that is good at that. Whereas, Brandon Smith, Christian Harris, I think can do that. Tindall's still a little more straight line sort of guy, but even still tackled at a very high level over the course of his career. Only 8 misses his entire career. But then the worry, what you went back to, he didn't break up single passing coverage ever. He didn't get a hand on a football at any point in his collegiate career in coverage. So that's a touch concern.
That's an insane stat.
That's a touch concern.
Last tier here. This is what you're calling the something is missing tier, and it sucks to see Beavers this low. But I went back and watched him too, and I still feel that his explosiveness is somewhat lacking on tape. His suddenness, right? It's not even like explosiveness; it's suddenness. He had a 1.63 10-yard split. It's one of the slowest in the class. Like you can't fire out of your stance like that. And they asked him to rush the passer a lot more than you'd probably expect him to do in the NFL. I'm a little bit worried about his explosiveness, even though I love the player and love just like he hits hard.
Yes.
He's got good size at 6'3", 243, but 1.63 10-yard split just is not it when you're looking to add starting off ball linebacker talent.
Yeah, so this tier is basically, I think there's a role for these guys. I think they can start on an NFL football field. There's just, you're going to have to accept a limitation in one way, shape, or form. And with Beavers, it's that explosiveness. Is he going to chase down a linebacker off the edge? Or excuse me, a running back off the edge? No. He's just not. That's not the kind of guy he is. He is a Sam linebacker, strong side, take on the tight end. He can do that, but you're just going to have to live with some limitations. So he'll be better for certain schemes than others. Terrell Bernard is next on this list, the Baylor linebacker. His limitations are very obvious. At his pro day, he checked in at 6'1", 218 pounds. He is not big. He looks like a safety. I mean, this guy would have been a safety 10 years ago. He would have had to play safety in the NFL. Now, the NFL is getting more open to players like that. And if I'm going to bet on a guy to overcome that, it is him with the way he plays. Like, no fear attacking blocks. Like, he does it already. I mean, he had 7.5 sacks this past season. Was a guy who wanted to play downhill, wanted to thump in the box. But I think maybe his role at the NFL level, best role, is kind of a sub-package guy. Your nickel dime back or whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to ultimately be his best role, but I think he can excel in such a role. Still a fan of his. The next one on this list, Malcolm Rodriguez, is probably – he has some of the craziest tape of anyone in this draft class because his frame is just tiny for the position. You will not see a smaller linebacker in the NFL. He's 5'11", 232, but with 30 and an eighth inch arms. I think if he became a starter in the NFL, those would be the shortest arms of any linebacker in the league. If he, on tape, looks compact as hell, but pinballs off of blocks. Like, he has incredible balance because, I mean, he's short, low center of gravity. This guy is never on the ground. Fast as hell, sideline to sideline, one heck of an athlete. Did 36 bench press reps at his pro day. He is just a rock. Like, this guy is pure muscle at 5'11". If you walk past this guy at the gym, you would be terrified. Just because he is
a lot of people are terrified of
yoked to the gills, but can move well too. Like, you want to bet on this guy because of how he plays the game of football, but shit, that's going to be an uphill climb with a 73-inch wingspan. That's just going to be a massive uphill climb. So that, the size concerns for Bernard, I think, are even worse for Rodriguez and what he's going to do in the NFL. But they
both have really short arms.
Bet on to succeed, that you want to succeed with the way he plays the game of football.
I think you framed it best, and he's a rock, right? And he hit 4.52, 154, 10 yards, but good explosiveness. But I don't think the NFL has as much of a role for the rock linebackers anymore, right? You need. I don't know what water. You need fluidity. You need length. You need, it's just a different skill set than what the league has asked of off-ball linebackers in the past. 20 years ago, that guy just early down stuffing in 4-3 defense.
I mean, he's not too dissimilar from a frame perspective than a London Fletcher. London Fletcher was kind of that guy who was just an absolute, as big a 5'11" linebacker as you'll ever see. But I do think he'll have a tougher time in today's NFL than he did back then. All right. Next up on the list is Jojo Doman from Nebraska. He played slot at Nebraska at 6'1", 230. So never played between the tackles. Is also very old. He turns 25 in July. So two knocks on him already when projecting the NFL. Third knock on him. Checked in with 27 and 7/8 inch arms as pro day. 73-inch wingspan as pro day. That's a yikes. Those are yikes numbers for the linebacker position. Again, I said Rodriguez would be the shortest. Doman's are shorter. So a little bit scary, but 4.58 40, all around great athlete. I mean, you could even. I think truthfully, what I would do is ask him to lose weight and play actual safety in the NFL because he has those sort of movement skills. He has those sort of instincts. He can cover to that degree that I would almost rather have him there because switching and playing a traditional NFL linebacker role for him, I just think is going to be a massive uphill climb. I just don't see at his age and like all the predictable stuff, like only 15 bench press reps for an already undersized linebacker is not where you want to be. I think him losing weight and playing just safety might be his ultimate role in the league, but a very good coverage player, a very instinctive player, and a very willing sort of physical player for having those size deficiencies. And he graded out extremely well. I mean, in a slot role, to do what he was asked to do, that is, we say the slot is more difficult coverage role than a traditional between the tackles linebacker. 87.8 coverage grade last year. So I still really like him from that perspective, but again, you're probably looking at a safety or just a guy who you're going to play in the slot in your defense.
Last couple names here, I think it's Micah Mcfadden and Mike Rose.
So Micah Mcfadden is probably the next best blitzing linebacker in this class. He's in that Leo Chanel mold of an off-ball, downhill, get him going after opposing quarterbacks, ball carriers, play on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage sort of linebacker. Actually had a higher pass rushing grade than Chanel this past year, 92.0 in 2021, 90.8 in 2020. He can do that. Has had over 90 pressures over the last 3 seasons. So he's good in that role. Now, is he particularly fast? No. Is he particularly fluid in space? No. So those are your limitations for a guy like that. But your downhill blitzer type, that's a scheme-specific guy. Mike Rose is maybe in this tier the one that intrigues me the most. And maybe Rodriguez or Bernard too, but like Mike Rose is 6'5", 245 pounds with over 34-inch arms. He has a unique body type for the off-ball linebacker position. Like the fact that this guy wasn't an edge rusher is wild to me. With his just that body type's not one you often see off the ball. And he had a 6'9", 4'3" count. He can move. He is agile at that size. Not particularly fast, but he can maneuver around blocks. Not a true take-on guy. Maybe that's why he's an off-ball linebacker, is because doesn't like to use his size advantage, doesn't like to play with power, and only 16 bench press reps at the combine is kind of a cringy number for a guy his size at 243 pounds. But like I said, you don't see athletes his size that move the way he does very often. And so interesting to see how he develops, because he's a 4-year starter. He's been starting since his true freshman year for Iowa State and actually graded out really well versus the run. So TBD on how he fares the next level. And that's the end of Tier 4, and even Tier 4 is all like guys I drafted in the 4th round. This is a deep – how many linebackers do we get to here of guys before we ended the 4th round? That's a lot of dudes.
Over like 12.
Yeah.
Almost 15. So that speaks to the depth of class. And again, I think just drives the value down for Lloyd and Dean, as good as they are, down a little bit, right? Like say I am a team drafting in that top 15. I'm not thinking about that, knowing I can go get off-ball linebacker talent on day 2 and day 3. Before we get into the fun to read, Save Your Likes Power Rankings segment here, shout out from 2 sponsors of the Tailgate podcast. What do U.S. News and PC Magazine and Popular Science have in common? They all have ranked Simply Safe Home Security as the best home security of 2021. In fact, U.S. News just named Simply Safe the best home security of 2022. Simply Safe has freed me from worry and given me peace of mind while I'm out traveling. Simply Safe protects your whole home around the clock, 24/7, every door, window, and room. Simply Safe is less than $1 a day, and you can set it up in around 30 minutes. And it's always simple to use. There's no long-term contract. You can even try it for 60 days risk-free. If you don't, send it back for free of charge. There's nothing to lose. Simply Safe protects over 1 million homes in the United States alone. Check it out. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/Hutch. Go today and claim free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/Hutch. Also, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is full of twists and turns, stress, changes, grief, moments of growth, and moments where we feel like we're taking a few steps back. BetterHelp Online Therapy is here for the twists and turns and will assess your needs and can match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely, online, and the service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp is a great way to show up for yourself and invest in your well-being because, well, you deserve some inner peace. Visit BetterHelp.com/Hutch. That's better, H-E-L-P, and join over 2 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Special offer for Hutch listeners. Get 10% off, and Tailgate listeners. Get 10% off with your first month at BetterHelp.com/Hutch. All right, fun to read. I thought we had some decent pieces this weekend. Really decent pieces. We're going to go
Truthfully,
through.
one of these is an all-timer, in my opinion.
I agree. And you didn't even see it live.
This one is what I'm saying is an all-timer, the first one.
The first one? First one is, who's the first one? Which one do you want to go first? Oh, Baldy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This was an all-timer.
Yeah. Let's go into this one. Fun to read. So what happens is, you want to frame it? Go ahead.
I'll frame it because I love this one. So someone, Brian Baldinger said, there's a quote from him from NFL Network that said, Jeffrey Simmons is as close to Aaron Donald as we've seen. Now, TBD on if you believe that or not, but some guy quote tweeted and said, say it louder in the back. And there's a little bit of a conversation that goes back and forth. And some guy says, did Baldy forget who Cameron Hayward is? And then in a few more replies, and he says, someone says that Hayward is not even close to the same level as Simmons. And this guy says, I'm generally curious by what metric. I understand homerism, and that's fine. It's fun to showcase bravado about your players. But Simmons isn't there yet. Cam has been an all-pro 4 of the last 5 seasons and a top 3 DT and PFF each of the last 3 years. Better stats, too, is his argument for Cam Hayward. So he cites PFF. And Brian Baldinger replies to him this tweet and says, you know that the Steelers were dead last versus the run, number 32 in the NFL. Titans were number 2. But keep studying the stat page.
That's
After
incredible.
he quotes 2 team stats, mind you. Not like those Simmons versus Hayward stats are, one's not even a stat because it's PFF grade, which is an objective value, which is an outsider evaluation. But not even stats, besides just better stats too. Balder comes in from the clouds quoting stats and tells them to then keep studying the stat page. But
also, like, if you're saying I don't understand Baldinger from this. If saying Jeffrey Simmons is as close to this Aaron Donald as we've seen, and then like you see that people are having discourse about, have you heard of Cam Hayward, whatever. And he's like, you know what? Did you know the Steelers were 32nd in run defense with Cameron Hayward and the Titans were number 2? Like, that's not even like getting at what Jeffrey Simmons at all. Like, how are you using team stats to defend that in the slightest? That's insane. I like Brian Baldinger though. This is not a hit on Brian Baldinger. I think he's great. And like I think the guy who's also like, have you heard of Cameron Hayward? I don't think Cameron Hayward is anywhere near what Aaron Donald is. I think what Baldinger's trying to say is like Jeffrey Simmons can affect the pass like Donald can. Like he has good pass rush moves. Then to bring up team run defense makes no sense to me. That's absurd. All right. Well, the next one to read. I thought this one was an all-timer. This one's from a guy on Twitter. His name is Daniel Kelly Book. He's apparently an aspiring former Jets scout. That's an aspiring GM. So apparently he was a scout.
I'm not sure any of that's true.
He's
the aspiring GM part probably.
Maybe. He's also the author of the most controversial book in sports, Whatever It Takes. I haven't heard of it, but I'm sure it's controversial after seeing this tweet. So Daniel Kelly says, this is 17, so this is Easter Sunday. He's like, I'm wearing my Hernandez jersey today as a reminder we are saved by grace through faith and not our works. Ephesians 2:8. Aaron understood that. He used his own blood to share that truth. That's why his autograph is tattooed on my hand. Hashtag NFL, hashtag Easter. Who took this picture of him walking down the sidewalk with the Aaron Hernandez jersey? I need to know. Because that person, what is going on? Then you see the tattoo of it's Aaron Hernandez's signature above a John 3:16 call out on his hand. That's insane. That's just one of the most absurd tweets I've ever seen.
You'll also not be surprised to know that he has a New York Yankees logo tattooed on the back of his neck. Which
my gosh.
I think goes hand in hand with this. No, not to hate on Yankees fans too much, but this is I feel like this has to be a prank.
It's not a prank.
Like
I don't think it's a prank. I don't think it's a prank. That guy I think is just a little psycho, which is fine.
Either there's something going on here that I frankly don't want to talk about, or we're getting got. Like this guy's laughing his ass off to this because it can't be real.
I don't know how. I just don't think Aaron Hernandez should be celebrated on any holiday.
Oh no.
Let alone Easter.
But he then put a link that said Aaron Hernandez had tattooed John 3:16 on his forehead. So
did he?
Yeah, that's
insane.
Or written in ink. Maybe
all right, next one here is from our boy Dan Orlovsky, who is the king. I'm calling Dan Orlovsky the king of comps. And if you see a tweet from Dan Orlovsky that is a player comp, I think we all need to start this flurry of hashtagging king of comps. Because he's already been the guy that said Garrett Wilson is Julio Jones.
Chris Olave was Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Then he has the Traylon Burks comp is Anquan Bolden plus Deebo Samuel usage, step slower burst-wise. This combo comp is like, is he just saying like he's as big as Anquan Bolden?
Spelled Anquan wrong too.
Which is fine.
No, it's not.
He's like
name.
He's like as big as Anquan Bolden, but then Deebo Samuel and how he'll be used in the NFL. Like I don't really understand what he's saying actually.
So he wants a guy that runs a 4.7 to use Deebo Samuel's role. So he just wants a running back basically. He said Traylon Burks running back.
So he's
is
he a step slower burst-wise to Anquan Bolden or Deebo?
I think to Deebo, but then Deebo Samuel usage, I don't know, man. We're trying to get inside Dan Orlovsky's brain.
The king of comps gets us again. The king of comps. I don't know what that means. I'm in love though. I'm in love. Last one here. This one was highly scrutinized. But the Houston Texans, some random intern pitched the idea of putting the matzo bread of that you have on Passover, photoshopping it into the hands of Brevin Jordan and Brandon Cooks, and then the copy is Happy Passover to who all celebrate. I don't think this should have gotten as roasted as big as it was, but I also don't understand like how divisive this is, because I think a lot of people were hurt, like just like felt like this was like. I don't know. Not a lot of people were happy with this tweet. They felt it was a terrible, like the fact that, I don't know, just anytime brands try to celebrate holidays or like try to send out things that aren't in their brand, it always comes off cringy. Yeah.
And this takes that obviously to another level. My favorite is the reply that says Happy Good Friday to all that celebrate. And then
what?
Photoshops Laramie Tunsil onto a cross.
Oh my God. Oh man, that's good. That's good. Yeah. I just don't think you need to take that risk. Like it's not worth the likes. No. Like you don't have to celebrate. Like it's cool acknowledging other holidays and stuff, but like you don't have to take it to the level where like you're fucking photoshopping a cracker in this dude's hand. Like that's where it's like you're trying to celebrate it, but it looks like you're like kind of making fun of it. Like it's kind of offensive to even like take it to this level, which unfortunate for the Texans graphic designer who put that together, but definitely a fun to read. Only two make the save to likes. One of them is our friend of the pod, Daniel Jeremiah.
We love this one.
And another one is our friend of the pod, Eric Eager. So the first one from Daniel Jeremiah is highlighting your guy, Jason Poe.
Repeat.
And
not only does he highlight Jason Poe, the Mercer guard Jason Poe, with one of the clips of him pulling to the edge.
Yeah.
But he says he calls him fun to watch.
He's fun to watch.
He calls him fun to watch. Have to love it. Have to love it from DJ. And truthfully, the man is fun to watch. I'm not going to argue with it, but we don't have to like it.
The next one is from Eric Eager, who's a big football fan and obviously like works here at PFF as a data scientist. He finds himself on, I think this would be Friday, watching some basketball, and he just tweets out randomly, Donovan Mitchell is fun to watch. And we get like 16 replies. So people are like...
You guys saved your likes. Only 29 likes on this one.
That's great. That's great.
The movement is
working.
Gaining traction.
Save your likes on Donovan Mitchell is fun to watch. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Last but not least here on this episode of Tailgate Power Rankings, I decided that we power rank holidays. Since we're coming off of Easter, I don't think we've done that before. I'll say this. Easter is so low on my list. It's lower than most days. Like it could be a random like random Friday in May is a little bit better than Easter. And part of that's because I don't celebrate, and it's a big family holiday. And if you're not like really close to your family, you're probably not doing a ton.
I mean, we didn't even get today off. Also,
bullshit.
Obviously, we're here working, so yeah.
Bullshit. So powering holidays, Easter down in the depths of despair. My number one, I'll go through my full three, and I'll go break down. Number one is Thanksgiving. Why? Thanksgiving is sick because the night before is usually an absolute sender. And here in Cincinnati, the Cyclones...
Hours. So from the midnight on, that morning of, it's always great.
It always
never
great.
Misses.
Here in Cincinnati, there's an ECHL team called the Cincinnati Cyclones. And every Wednesday before Thanksgiving, they do dollar beer nights. Dollar like tall boy PBRs and Miller Lights. I think they have Miller Lights too. So you get to do that. This last year, they played the Toledo Walleye. There was like 7 fights. They won like 8-2. It was an absurd hockey game. Then you go out and buzz with the boys. Next morning, you wake up hungover to ideally a nice meal. Me and George Chahuri, big shout out to him, made a nice meal, and you just eat and drink all day. I mean, that's the move right there. And the night before is great too. Then I put Halloween. Halloween, I think, is because like Halloween usually has enough energy to last an entire weekend, and everyone's buzzing on Halloween. I'm a big fan of the party scene in Halloween. Then number 3, Christmas. Christmas, I think, is a good number 3. Christmas is obviously great. Get some gifts out. Get some appreciation out. And I also think the Christmas Eve buzz is pretty good, too. I'm finding out now through my power rankings that I'm just kind of an alcoholic, which is rough to say out loud. But all 3 of these are, like, big reasons because either the night before or the day of you drink a little bit.
That's why you missed, which is my number 1, the single best drinking day of the year. And that's
You
the
said
4th
this
of
to me
July.
before, and I can't disagree.
It's the 4th of July. And it's because there's literally nothing else to do, you know? Or not like there's nothing else to do, but, like, it is good weather, like peak weather season with, at least in the Midwest, peak weather season with nothing going on to, like, distract you from going out and doing whatever you want. Fireworks. I'm a big fireworks guy. Lighting them off.
You're
is
a
always
big
good.
fireworks guy?
I'm a big fireworks guy.
That's the lamest thing you've ever said.
It's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to have them there. I'm not like go watch fireworks, but it's fun to have them going off while you're doing something.
Doing what?
Drinking.
I think 4th of July is solid. I think it's wrong for me to maybe put some of these other holidays above, but I think it's an honorable mention. I think maybe I slot it in as 4th. I'm not putting it above Christmas and Halloween.
Thanksgiving's 2. Obvious, whatever you just said, I wholesale agree with. Plus football. Plus
That's a great take.
That's big fan of Thanksgiving. And then I put Christmas 3. I also like Memorial Day weekend. It's kind of kickoff to summer. Always good time. But Christmas, hard to beat. Hard to beat. I mean, Halloween's the crazy take, though, on this list. Halloween's cool until you're 13, and then it's over.
No.
And then it's over.
No,
Halloween's
stop.
done.
Halloween is no longer what it was when you were a kid, right?
I've never worn a costume out for Halloween. Last time I wore a costume for Halloween was 2015.
Wow. That's because you're just like a curmudgeon, dude. Why don't you like celebrate and like be a little bit festive one time?
No. It's a child's holiday.
That's fair. And I'm a child. And I am a child. That's going to do it for this episode of Tailgate. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Tomorrow's episode, we have, I believe, cornerback rankings.
Yeah.
Then safety on the Thursday episode. We also have interviews
the final draft board coming too.
Final draft board, final mock drafts. We are getting close to the end of the season here. Make sure if you want a draft guide, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Send me a screenshot of that review on Twitter or IG. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, Tailgate.